Coming up next is the Another View Roundtable. Today's topic, CNN suspends commentator Roland Martin for inappropriate tweets. Is his suspension enough or not? All kinds of people use the midtown and downtown tunnels between Portsmouth and Norfolk, yet legislative efforts to lower the tolls are considered by some to be racially based. Really? PETA says Orcas should receive 13th Amendment protection. And a poll of Virginia voters says it's just fine to drug test welfare recipients. Roger Chesley, Wil LaVeist, and Bill Thomas square off on these and other topics right after this news from NPR.
Discussing the issues and celebrating the successes of the African American community. This is Another View.
And good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. It's the second Friday of the month, so you know that means we have our Another View Roundtable. There's never a dull moment when our pundits get together. Now, today's program is a little bit different in that we're missing the sole female panelist, Carol Pretlow, who is a political science professor at Norfolk State University. Her department head called a mandatory meeting at this hour, and when the boss says, be there, you have to be there. So we're going to miss you, Carol.
We miss you, Carol.
But we are happy to have in studio Virginian-Pilot columnist Roger Chesley.
Hello, Barbara.
Hi there, Roger, whose column appears every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday.
That is correct.
Our favorite conservative and community activist, Bill Thomas. Hi, Bill.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Yeah, we're flexible at our institution.
That's a good thing. How about that? And joining us by phone is journalist, author, and talk show host Wil LaVeist. And you can hear the Wil LaVeist Show on Hampton University Radio's WHRV-FM on Wednesdays at noon. How you doing, Will?
Always a pleasure. And in some way, I'm glad I'm not there, because if it were not for you, Barbara, and Lisa, without Carol being there, that room sure got ugly.
I'm going to stay out of that one. And we're inviting you, our audience, to join the conversation at 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Okay, there is so much stuff going on that we can talk about, but I want to start with Mr. Roland Martin. Super Bowl Sunday last week, Roland got busy on Twitter, and it cost him a little bit of issue. He tweeted, quote, if a dude at your Super Bowl party is hyped about David Beckham's H&M underwear ad, smack the ish out of him, unquote. And people said, GLAAD came out and immediately said that it was, his tweets were regrettable and offensive language that demeans and is inconsistent with the values of our culture, of our organization. Oh, I'm sorry. This is what CNN said. CNN said, Roland Martin's tweets were regrettable and offensive language that demeans, is inconsistent with the values and culture of our organization, and is not tolerated. We have been giving careful consideration to this matter, and Roland will not be appearing on our air for the time being. Will, you wrote an article, and you've been talking about this. Let's get your take, since you know Roland personally.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Roland and I go back at least to the 90s when we were in a Main and Institute journalism program together at Columbia University. And as you know, Barbara, because you were part of the program, we had Roland come out for the Urban League of Hampton Roads last year. So, yeah, I know Roland. I know Roland loves to get into the dozens. He loves to play. He loves to joke. He's really, a good person. But sometimes you can joke and take your own wit and your own thoughts a little bit too far. And this is what he definitely did in this case, and that's what I wrote about. I mean, I pretty much said that CNN did the right thing. They probably should have done it earlier, and that I think that Roland is strong enough, knows how to dish it out and take it, and he'll take this situation and become wiser for it. He'll still try to be his witty self, but at the end of the day, Roland is not anti-gay. He just screwed up. He fumbled. to use a pun since we're talking about the Super Bowl.
Well, but Roger,
you said he's not anti-gay. It sure sounded like it was. That comment sure sounded like it was.
He is anti-gay.
And the problem I have, why do we have so many? Sometimes this instant means of communication is more harm than it is help.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Trying to be witty, trying to be provocative, and hey, let's be honest. That's what we do on this show too. But you have to think before you hit send, and sometimes it's just no place for that comment. He shouldn't have said it. And I'm not gay. And I thought David Beckham looked great in that ad.
Sure did.
Go ahead, Bill. What did you
sure
think?
did. But I'm glad my colleague here is agreeing with me today because
Oh, my goodness.
we talk about the right wing and my fellow Tea Party members, and anything they say is all blown out of proportion. Liberals to do the same thing. I mean, he did it. He meant it. I knew exactly what he was talking about. It had no issues whatsoever.
So you didn't take it as he was kind of, as we say, playing the dozens in terms of...
He was speaking truthfully to what he believed. And he let it come out. And again, I'm going to go with my colleague. I don't send out any emails or I don't send out any Twitters or anything without letting it sit there for 24 hours. There's going to be the death of you, and I'm not going to be a part of that because you do something emotionally and stupid. And I've done it too, but I'll let it sit there. I would not send it.
Let me tell you what GLAAD, which is the Gay Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, they immediately responded by demanding his removal from the news network. Now, they want him to be fired. Though Martin insisted that his tweet was not a homophobic encouragement of violence, but a dig at soccer fans. Will you buy that?
Well, yes, like I said, I think that, to Bill's point about waiting 24 hours, that's why nobody follows him on Twitter. Because
and that's okay. And I'm not going to get fired. And I'm not going to get fired from my job by doing something stupid like that.
Part of Twitter is that you're being impulsive and you're putting your thoughts there. And if you know Roland, he's very much somebody who does that and very much somebody who can overdo it and needs to chill out. And this is a situation where it came back and it bit him. And I think that to say and look at put somebody's total career on the line over something that they said impulsively, again, doing the dozens, he doesn't have a history in his background. He's actually written columns, in support of gay rights and especially as a Christian, really taking a different view, taking a view that I share, that, regardless of what people's orientation is, that they still have rights. And so if you look at the totality of his career and when he has put down well thought out dialogue, well thought out columns, it doesn't speak of somebody who's anti-gay. And so I think that...
wait a minute. Let's be clear about this.
Okay.
We know that in the African-American community,
Amen.
We are sometimes some of the biggest homophobes out there.
Amen.
And some Christians are some of the biggest homophobes out there. Now, I'm sorry, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying that this was some soccer-related comment. I think he said...
Do you know Roland? Do you know him?
I don't know Roland. I've met Roland a couple of times at NABJ conferences. And here's another thing, Will. Let me just get this out.
If you put a tweet out there that came out, unlike somebody that actually knows you, and it came out, it wasn't quite the way that you meant to frame it, I would argue on your behalf and say that, no, you can't judge the man.
Will, he's not somebody who's on Twitter with just a couple of friends. He knows he's going to have hundreds, if not thousands, of followers. It's not just like me tweeting Barbara and not thinking that only a few people are going to get it. Mm-hmm. He is a national presence. He is a national figure now, and he has to know. He didn't just start this business last year. He's got to know that his comments, his remarks on something like Twitter or on a blog or on Facebook are going to be read by lots of people who might not know him.
Let me pick up after Roger. Let me pick up after Roger. Stop making excuses for him. Stop making excuses.
Hey, Tom, I'm not making any excuses.
Yes, you are.
Okay, guys, so you guys can't talk over each other. Okay, hold on 1 second.
You got to cut him off. He's talking too much.
Roger.
Tom Brady is a Super Bowl winning MVP quarterback. He ought to know that you don't stand in your own end zone and throw to anybody without that being a safety. He made a mistake.
Oh, Lord, have mercy. Man, that's a stretch.
Career by a mistake.
That's a stretch.
Will, hold on a second. Bill, make your
Actually,
comment.
we had some comments and emails going back and forth about this issue. And then what I did, in particular to this comment, I made an inappropriate comment that I understood. And because I said on it, I didn't send it. Because it was a good joke. It was a good follow-on because I know all of you guys, but I don't know who else is looking at these emails. Mm-hmm. So I didn't put it out. But for you to sit here and try to defend this liberal who's absolutely anti-gay, he said it, he meant it, stop making excuses.
Okay, hold on a second. Troy wants to join us from Virginia Beach. Hi, Troy, you on the air.
Hey, good afternoon. That guy who's a conservative, as far as I'm concerned, he's kind of a joke. He kind of make a lot of a black man look bad because
this isn't about black and white. Well, what make this black and white?
Because
Roger just brought in black and white.
Okay, hold on. Go ahead, Troy.
You make us black men look bad because you stand up for everything backward. You're taking everything out of context.
Oh,
because
Lord.
What? You try to take your job or what? You would try to shine in another man's misery?
What?
Okay.
The market.
Troy, you made your point.
The market
I'll let
is going
Bill
to take
respond.
care of him. The marketplace is going to take care of him. And
Do you think he'll be back, Bill?
No. Probably 6 months or so, to the extent the gay community and my friends in the gay community they have tremendous amount of buying power and tremendous amount of political influence. And that's what took him off the air. And for this black man to get up here and tell me I'm taking something out of context, the man is homophobic. And that's what he said, and that's what he meant. And for us to tell a lie, whether we black and white, under the adages of Martin Luther King, is still a lie.
Yeah, and my point...
Barbara, he'll definitely be back, Barbara. He's glad he's opened up the doors. He's going to be meeting with Glad.
Be meeting with them. Okay.
They backed off of calling for him to be fired. One of the things I said in my column is, where is the black gay organizations on this? And why haven't they spoken out? Yeah, where are the black gay organizations? Why haven't they spoken out against maybe he should be suspended from TV one at a time? Join the show.
Do you know any black gay organizations? Will, stop making excuses for him.
Wait a minute.
He's going to talk us out.
Let him finish.
Or maybe they just took a wiser approach to this, because Glad has a tendency to go overboard and want to call for everybody to get fired for every mistake that they make.
Well, Will, you did bring up in your column about Isaiah Washington and some others that Glad had also called out in terms of making inappropriate comments about the LGBT community.
Absolutely. I mean, and people make those individuals, as well as the comic Tracy Morgan, as well as Kobe Bryant, in the heat of moments, have made comments, have made mistakes, and then they apologize, and then all of a sudden it's like your whole career now needs to be eliminated because you made a slip of the tongue, you made a mistake. I mean, come on, that's not America.
I'm not saying he should.
If that's going to be the approach, then we're not going to be able to say anything. And that's not American. And Bill Thomas should be in support of that.
Hold on. Go ahead, Roger.
I'm not saying that he should lose his job over this, but let's not think that he is somebody who's new to what he's doing. I mean, he's been doing his job. He's been in the media field for at least 20 years now. And I don't think he should lose his job over this, but he should be sensitive to people who may not be like him. It was an offensive comment.
Absolutely.
And I think that he needs to be called out for that. And lastly, why haven't some of the black, gay, lesbian, transgendered organizations called out for him? I think they probably understand there's not a whole lot of us, people who look like us, who are on national television on a regular basis, who are hosts or panelists on a regular basis. And I think they were probably trying to calibrate what they said about him. But as soon as I read the comment, I thought it was offensive right away.
Let's see. Michael, hold on,
man. You're defending wrong,
Hold on,
man.
Will. Michael joins us from Portsmouth. Hi, Michael. You're on the air.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Number one, I think that all blacks, we're not a homogeneous people. And so you have to be in the community or close to the community to really recognize what is a black issue. And secondly, I'm wondering, is this not a free speech issue that we don't have to agree with one another, but we do have the right to hear one another out? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Michael,
Yeah,
for your
I'll
call.
answer that.
Bill?
Actually, in one of our emails the other day, I said I have the right to say anything whenever I want to, whenever I want to, and how I want to say it. And also, if the marketplace doesn't like it, or if my job doesn't like it, I'm not going to be working.
But isn't that, because there is a responsibility
That is
that
correct.
goes along with
That
your
is correct.
job.
And so I have to measure that. No, he has the right to say anything he wants. And for him to get on my gay and lesbian brothers and sisters is absolutely wrong. He shouldn't have done that, and he shouldn't have called them out. And I say he should be fired.
Okay, hold on. David is calling us from Chesapeake. Hi, David. You're on the air.
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
Mm-hmm.
I pay attention to this whole thing, and this is the way I see it. I think they were wrong to terminate him, and I'll tell you why. Because, I mean, like, how many times people have been sitting in a card game or, a football game or whatever, and somebody says something out, crazy or whatever, and you go, man, smack that dude upside the head and get his mind straight. That's exactly how he meant it, and I think the whole gay people, organization, they've totally blown this whole thing out of proportion just because he said smack, and it was they took it out of context as something hateful towards gays, and I think that Roland Martin got a bomb deal.
Okay, David, thanks for your call. I appreciate that. Roger, and then we'll go to you, Will.
It's one thing to say something around a table of 5 other people
Amen.
in which it's a very it's a very small group, and nothing is probably going to float out of there. It's quite different to say something on Facebook, on Twitter, or on your own blog, and to think there's not going to be repercussions for it, and Roland knows that.
He knows it.
Okay, Will, you can have the last word on this topic,
Please.
and we're going to move on.
Thank you.
Well, the bottom line, Roger, I predict that before this year is out, you're going to put something in your column that you're going to say, yeah, I should have pulled that back. It happened to me when I was writing columns. It still happens on occasion. It happens to all of the best. And because you make a mistake or phrase something not quite in the way that you intended it does not mean your whole career should go down the drain. And glad, just as the caller said, by going overboard for its own, let's not be mistaken that it. Glad also has an agenda for its own marketing purposes. When they jump on everything, they run the risk of being the person who cried wolf.
But Will, as a former columnist, that when we put that out there, we know at least 150,000 or 200,000 are going to read that. We have to stand behind those words, and we can't back off of them. And that's why we try to take extra special care that we know and get the message out. People might not take it the way we intended it, but we have to defend and be behind those words. And I don't think Roland is defending those words now, is he?
No, he actually, you are making my point. When you are tweeting, you have even less time to defend, and you should be given even more so the benefit of the doubt. And he immediately came back and did apologize and put it on his website and say, yeah, I can see where it was offensive, but that's not what I intended.
Okay.
So CNN was right. He came back, he apologized. He should not be fired, and he will be back, and he will be wiser as a result of this.
Okay. Now, let's move on to Senator Louise Lucas.
Thank you.
Up in Richmond, having a lot of stuff going on with her this week in terms of discussions by the Republican Party to hopefully ease some of the tolls. The price of the tolls between the downtown and midtown tunnels, hopefully or to gain her support in terms of getting the budget through. And yesterday, apparently, she got a little upset in the session and wound up leaving a discussion kind of angrily.
I'd like to focus first of all on what she's been able to do so far.
Okay.
When I guess it's about 3 or 4 weeks ago when several Portsmouth leaders went out and made a plea to lower the tolls, I thought that was a little bit too little, too late, because a lot of discussions, a lot of negotiations have been going on since 2000.
Because it was already a done deal at that point.
And I thought this was going to be kind of coming to the table too late. But Senator Lucas has shown this year, at least so far, that she's might have the ability to actually lower those tolls some. And that's no small feat if she can pull that off. It's going to make a big difference, even a quarter or 35 cents.
50 cents, according to this article.
Anything that could lower those tolls, primarily for Portsmouth residents. Yes, Norfolk residents will be affected too, but not to the same extent that Portsmouth residents will be. If she can pull that off, that's pretty special. That's pretty powerful. And she's got an opportunity to do this because of the split that's in the Senate right now and the fact that the lieutenant governor cannot be the deciding vote on budget issues.
But here's the interesting part. As you read the articles in the paper and as you look at the community discussion, it turned to a racial discussion. And everyone will benefit from the lowering of these tolls. And so why do you think it turned to a racial discussion, that this is something to only help black folks?
I don't think it is a racial discussion. And try to be careful about how much credence you put into commenters making posts online. They do it anonymously.
The screaming minority, I call them.
Right. And this will help anybody who has to use the downtown and midtown tunnel.
Bill, you're shaking your head.
Actually, it's a race issue, and black folks have got to learn how to defend their economic interests. I thought that, and I was down there, I thought that Senator Lucas did a fine job. I mean, a lot of times he's talked about ethnicities and how folks operate and how they express their feelings. We were all sitting around the table, and she was doing that. I don't think we would have thought this offensive or anything. I don't think the reporter was that up on that. I think she did good. I think that you're going to save about $500 million. The governor's trying to negotiate with her in terms of lowering the bonding issue on that thing. That's going to help her constituents. But it is. Get your heads out of the sand. I believe in hard work, and I believe that this is America, but this is an economic issue. They would not do this in Norfolk. They would not do this in Virginia Beach. They
so
would
you're
not
saying
do
besides
this
the amount of the toll would have never happened?
Absolutely. There wouldn't have been a thought. It would not have even been a thought because we don't leverage our economic interests. So my hat's off to Senator Lucas for standing up for our community.
Well, but again, I don't think it's so much a racial issue.
Is it a race issue based on there are more blacks that are going through that tunnel than there are anybody else? How is it a race issue?
Well, I'm responding to the community response, or at least some of the community response, which says because the Portsmouth is predominantly African American, because the people who went up to Richmond to protest were predominantly African American, because Senator Lucas is African American, that it's a racial issue as opposed to an issue for everyone.
There was also a group of predominantly, I believe they were mostly white businessmen who were part of this jaunt up there to Richmond as well. And let's face it, when you go through when you use your transponder and go through the tunnels, they're not going to say, okay, well, he's black, he's yellow, he's white, we're going to charge different rates. No, it's going to be anybody who uses the tunnels and goes back and forth between Norfolk and Portsmouth.
Which is the reason why I thought this was really interesting, because you're absolutely right. Whoever goes through will benefit from the lower toll. Will.
I mean, and that's where I'm at with this. I would think that all of the business people in the downtown Portsmouth, in the Central City District, and even up in Harborview, because if you're from the Norfolk side and you want to go through that tunnel, you want to go to Harborview, that's the tunnel you're going to go through. So I'm a little bit at a loss as to how it turns into a racial issue, unless, as Roger said, you're able to detect who's black and who's white usually coming through the tunnel.
Actually, they probably have done that. They've probably done researchers. They have observers counting number of cars, what kind of cars, what you have on top of it.
But what does this say?
That's why everybody. Now you're trying to make fun of an issue where we're suffering economically worse than any other race in the generations of this in Virginia, and
I'm trying to see how this toll has to do with that.
This is my judgment. I mean, you have your judgment. This is my judgment. Everything is financial. Everything is about money. And if you still can't open your eyes up to realize that, then, brother, I can't help you.
Okay, everything is financial and it's about money. So where does the rate part come in?
I made my case. I hope you.
Wait a minute. Let him finish.
I made my case.
The issue being, why is it that our society, it seems, at a lot of things, with something that would be innocuous in terms of race. This is because this does not. It is economics.
It's the same
not
thing
racial.
With that
but why
light rail.
does our community feel that they have to reach
which
out
is a
like
good
that?
deal in my judgment, should go directly to Virginia Beach. No question about it. But because it is a race issue, it's going to take them 100 years to do that.
Here it is, Barbara. Why we got some in the society that always want to harp it into race is because those who are in power and those who want to influence people's thoughts and votes realize that race is a divider. And if people would start to look at what their common interests are and their common issues are, then we would start voting across racial lines and start voting based on our issues. But there are some people that have invested interest in their positions to keep things stirred up based on race. And that's why something as simple as this, the tunnel, it turns into a race issue. And then also, as Roger was saying, when you see comments on the pilot message boards, you can't judge the community by those posters, because that's a small minority that screams, and that's, unfortunately, as I've said before on this show, the newsroom decision makers tend to listen to them more than the majority that's out there of reasonable people that's out there.
Okay, let's talk to Jeff in Norfolk. Hi, Jeff, you're on the air.
Yeah, I live in West Ghent, and I'm also a board member with the Ghent Business Association. And we are very opposed to these tolls on the tunnel. We think it will have a negative impact on the business, on the restaurants and small retailers in the Ghent neighborhood. And so we see it as a very negative thing.
Okay.
It's not based on race. It is about money, and we're opposed to it because it'll have a negative economic impact on Ghent.
Okay, thanks so much for your call, Jeff. We appreciate that. Jeff, it goes to your point, Bill.
Yeah, I agree.
That is the economy.
That's right.
If you're just now joining us, you're listening to the Another View Roundtable with Roger Chesley, with the Virginian-Pilot, community activist Bill Thomas, and journalist, author, and talk show host Wil LaVeist. Our numbers are 440-2665 and 1-800-940-2240. David joins us from Chesapeake. Hi, David.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. Yeah, I have to agree that it is that this whole toll thing with the tunnel has turned into a racial issue, and the reason I say that is that the GOP has made some very distinct remarks about voter fraud, and by putting this toll here,
Amen.
Tends to put a damper on some of that. But the back and forth between not only voter fraud but also say social services fraud and things like that, and I think that's why that GOP is on their side pushing for this poll.
Okay, David, let's get a reaction from Bill.
I agree.
Because the whole issue about the voter registration also is an issue.
He left out an element to that, which is the next step, is the fact that since the poor black people and white folks in Portsmouth cannot afford to toll, they're going to move. They're going to move to either Newport News or Hampton or something else because they can't afford it. So again, then you dilute the power, you dilute the political power, you do all those kind of things. And if you can't open your eyes up to see that, Mr. Wil LaVeist, then, man, that's why we are going to remain enslaved by our mentality for the entire time of my life. I agree with that gentleman who just called in.
I don't agree with that.
Go ahead, Roger.
I don't know. I don't really see the linkage between the two issues, voter fraud and the tolls. I do think it's going to be an issue that some of the folks there are going to have to deal with in terms of income. I don't know how they're going to necessarily move away just because of the tolls. So I don't know if it would come to quite that point.
Come to them moving. Sheila joins us from Portsmouth. Hi, Sheila.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for your conversation. As a native African American living in Portsmouth, I understand how Portsmouth being predominantly black, that effect would hurt us from that standpoint. However, it's a global thing here relative to economics, relative to even health care, because so many folks go to Norfolk for health care. Our premier medical center in this area is at Centera Norfolk General Hospital. And being a health care provider in this region, it pains me that people not only have the gas, trying to find somebody to take them, plus the fact that they have to pay almost $2 each way for a toll visit. So it's really a big picture thing. A lot of times I get up on Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon and I go to Ghent for lunch. I won't be doing that quite so much. Go. And ensure that folks on the other end in Norfolk would come to Portsmouth. And they won't be doing that so much. So I really feel that if we do anything, I think every bridge and every tunnel ought to have a toll, because whatever bridge or tunnel is built is going to positively impact the region as a whole. And as long as we just put it on one area, then that's unfair and it doesn't spread the burden of the improvement.
Okay, Sheila, thanks so much for your call. We appreciate that. Anybody want to react to what she says, Bill?
Excellent point. I mean, that's my point. The poor people in Portsmouth are not going to have access to the vital things that they need to have. They're going to have to move.
Okay. Cynthia joins us from Norfolk. Hi, Cynthia. You on the air?
Thank you. Hello to you and your guest.
Thank you.
I did want to say that I am for the tolls, and simply because I live in Norfolk and my mom lives in Portsmouth. So several things happen at that 5 to 6 o'clock hour that, because of traffic and congestion, just cannot be eliminated. And the first thing is I have a 6-year-old son that goes to school. One of the issues that my mom and I had discussed was sending my son to private school in Portsmouth. The reason why we cannot is because between 5 p.m. and 6 p.m., I cannot get through for a minimum of 45 minutes. My second point is, if I sit in traffic for 30 to 45 minutes just from Brambleton, getting through, and my mom's lives right off of Fredericks Boulevard. So just in that little strip of highway, that's going to cost me at a minimum of a gallon of gas just sitting in traffic. So my point in essence is I am paying one way or the other. I am paying one, as of today, not to go over there to Portsmouth during those peak rush hour times. And the second thing is that if I did choose to, I am still paying a gallon of gas, which is $3 and change anyway.
So your
Give
point
me
is,
a toll, and I can go.
There you go. So that the traffic will be free flowing, and you can get to your destination.
Yeah, given where our office is in downtown Norfolk, we know we're in trouble if we have to get to downtown Portsmouth for one thing or another. From about 3 o'clock to 6:30, you have to factor that in. It is a finite period, but it's still it's serious enough that we have to figure out what we're going to do or leave early enough just to get over there. And if something's breaking on the other side, it really causes us a problem.
Okay. Thank you so much for your call, Cynthia. We appreciate it. All right. Virginians back drug tests for welfare recipients. Bill, I just knew that this one's for you. There was a poll recently done that survey of 1,544 registered voters, and they said 3 of every 4 registered voters surveyed by telephone said requiring welfare recipients to be screened for illegal drugs was a good idea.
I think it's a waste of time. I think with all the issues that we have on the table, you got to set some priorities. And whether or not drugs, I hate drugs. I hate it because it destroys families and marriages and everything. I had an older brother involved in drugs, and just nothing can deal with it. So it happens across the board. I just think that's not a priority. I think the General Assembly is just wasting everybody's time, and they're just beating up on these poor black and white folks that are down on their luck, and now it's the time to do it. They're in charge. And instead of trying to fix education, fix the tolls, fix the things that need to be fixed, we're talking about beating up on some more. That's not in my agenda. I think it's a waste of time.
Well, as I wrote a column about it a couple of weeks ago when the idea first surfaced. I guess it has been floated in other General Assembly sessions in the past, but it's really gotten a lot of attention and it's gotten some backing this year. And here's a tease for my column tomorrow, shameless plug. I'm writing about the issue again. On so many levels, I think it's just unfair. It's beating up on the most voiceless and the folks with the lowest amount of money.
There's a national conversation though with the Republican Party bringing up people on welfare. This whole Obama being a welfare president.
But there haven't been that many states that have actually done this successfully. It was tried in Michigan, and a court stopped it there. It was tried in Florida, and a temporary halt has been forced there. There's the few studies that we have on this particular issue. We do not know that welfare recipients use drugs at any greater level than the rest of society.
Amen.
We do not have...
I'm coming to you, Will.
We do not have anything that suggests, and why set off this particular population? There are a lot of people that get money from the state across the board, from employees to contractors to legislators themselves. We're not asking them to do this on a routine basis. I don't have a good answer for the question. A lot of people say, well, if you get a job, you have to go through a drug test. That's true, but there are also other types of aid that we get, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. We're not saying that those recipients should get it either. I just think constitutionally, morally, it is just a wrong thing to do.
Will?
Hey, it's another, I have to agree with my colleagues on this. It's another case, as I said before, of politicians using low-hanging fruit, something that'll pull people's emotional strings. And what we fail to do a lot of times is what your last caller did, looking at the issue and saying, okay, analyzing it and thinking about how does this issue really affect me? Why is someone really putting this on the board? And again, politicians and unfortunately a lot of Virginians just go for what sounds good. And it sounds good to say people on welfare, the connotation is they're all bad and they're all on drugs, so make them take a drug test. Did anybody make any of these bankers take a drug test when they got the bailout money?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's a good point. Jeremy from Portsmouth, you're on the air.
Hi, guys. Thanks for taking my call. I just want to make a couple quick points on this welfare drug testing thing. One, the survey, they had 1,500 people in their sample out of how many registered voters in the state of Virginia. I don't have the numbers, but I think that's a pretty small sample size. Also, as far as the actual issue, I think it's an absurd issue to bring up. I think, what was it in Florida where they tried it and had a return rate of about 2% positive?
That's correct.
And wasted how much taxpayer money, which just so happened to go to a lab funded by, or owned or in part by these politicians that are passing this legislation. I think it further stigmatizes something that is already has a horrible stigma attached to it, and it's probably making someone lots of money that doesn't deserve it.
Yeah.
Okay, we appreciate your call, Jeremy.
I agree. I guess
lastly,
I'll say, what about corporate and government welfare?
Mm-hmm.
What about that ship out there we're building on that aircraft carrier? That's $1 billion over budget. How many of those guys are out there on drugs? I mean, give me a break. How about the cost runs down there for HRT and that light rail, hundreds of $1 million? How many of those people are on drugs? I mean, so if you're going to do it across the board. But right now, that's not a priority. And we need to lead the folks that are already on welfare. The public school system didn't educate them. That's why they should have private and lab schools. And so we ought to work on things that are important.
Okay, well, PETA says that orcas should be protected by the 13th Amendment. For those of you who need to know about the 13th Amendment, that was the ending of slavery. Will, let's start with you. What's your reaction?
PETA and GLAAD are they're the same category of jumping on things for their own marketing reasons. They take something that has some measure of value to it, then they overblow it for marketing reasons to get people riled up so that they can get money. This is something that is offensive. When you're going to go and compare the 13th the amendment for slavery to saying now, okay, whales have the rights that human beings have. This is a slap in the face to what that amendment was all about, and they're doing it for self-serving reasons for their own marketing purposes. And this is what we ought to be paying attention to and analyzing.
Bill?
Well, you know what I've said on this program number of times. We ought to get rid of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. The only people that are benefiting from the 13th and 14th and 15th Amendment are these anchor babies and the Hispanics and all of these other people that are coming from India and China, having a baby, then hooking them up and standing up here in America. We should get rid of them. And I didn't say that.
The Hispanic, I'm offended by that.
You'd be offended, and I'm going to stand behind what I said. No,
well, wait a minute. Hold on. Let's let Bill explain what he means first, and then we'll debate
I think
it.
people run across the border from Mexico. They have a baby, they create an anchor baby, and they're just ruining our health industry. I mean, it's just ruining it.
With all the are the only ones who are here illegally.
Oh, I said the Russians, I said the Indians, I said the Chinese, I said everybody. I said the 13th.
Was that a tweet? Was that a verbal tweet?
No. I'm dealing with with liberals who's trying to protect a person who is homophobic. You ought to be quiet for a minute and listen. Just listen. What I said was, and Malcolm X said it, if you want to go look it up, we don't need the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. He said it will be used against us, and it has been. And now you got these idiots at PETA.
Explain that. Explain how.
Because the 13th and 14th and 15th Amendments that gave African Americans certain rights and things, we didn't need that. If we were truly Americans, which we were, then we didn't need for them to authenticate us with those amendments. It was ours to have. There's no they won't even let the Haitians come over to America. They won't even let them come over. And you've seen them at that.
But we were considered property at one point. So therefore...
The law was wrong. Somebody said we were.
And didn't the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments correct the law?
It didn't have to correct the law. We were already human beings. They fooled you guys in believing that the 13th and 14th and 15th Amendment of government regulation could do something that you couldn't do for yourself. The only amendment that we need is the Second Amendment to defend our rights.
Okay, who wants to respond to that? Roger?
I almost asked you not to talk about this particular issue on the air today because this is just what PETA wants.
That's what
I try to keep PETA out of anything that I write about because they do these silly, over-the-top, ridiculous, and let's call it what it is. It's a stunt. It's a stunt. I mean, why are they taken seriously? Why are we wasting time talking about it? A judge threw it out. It was ridiculous when they did this stunt for these whale slaves, and it's ridiculous that we're spending time talking about it. Okay. I'm ashamed at you, Barbara, for putting it on our agenda today.
Okay, fair enough. But there was a lot of reaction.
I'm not ashamed of you, Barbara.
Thank you, Will. Thank you very much. And there was a lot of reaction from people, though, when they first heard it, because they felt offended by the fact that PETA would even equate whales to the 13th Amendment.
PETA is so much into nonsense. They do this to raise money, and they do this to get their names out there. I don't know why they feel like this is the only way they can get publicity sometimes. But
okay, Will, you can have the final word on this one.
No, I was going to say, but I think that we have to call them out on it. And exactly, Rogers is reiterating what I said earlier, that it is a stunt, and we need to call them out on it because they're taking a legitimate cause. I mean, I'm a dog lover. I have a dog. I love animals. But they take a legitimate cause, and then for their own self-interest, for their own pocketbooks, they go overboard and pull off these stunts, and we need to call them out on it.
Okay.
I don't think we need the 13th, 14th, or 15th Amendment. I think that is the core that we need to depend upon ourselves. And we cannot let people define us as that law did. We have to define ourselves and defend ourselves. The only other thing I'd say with that, I was raised in a Jewish community. And if they was to make a comparison like that with what happened over in Germany, they would be doing something about it. Mm-hmm. And so, but they wouldn't be loud. It wouldn't be out there ringing bells and yelling and shouting. But they do something about it. And once we wake up to understand that we have to defend our own interests, then we'll realize it. But we're not there yet.
Let's talk about
what should we do?
We don't have time to talk about that. I told you what I would do. You don't listen.
Yeah, you did. You did say
I
that.
I did tell you what I would do.
You would defend yourself.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about presidential politics for a little bit. The lot of conversation about Gingrich and his response to President Obama singing at the Apollo. Let's listen to President Obama's song first, and then we'll get Gingrich's reaction.
And then to know that Reverend Al Green was here. I'm so in love with you. Those guys didn't think I would do it. I told you I was going to do it. And the Sandman did not come out. Don't worry, Rev. I cannot sing like you, but I just wanted to show my appreciation.
Now, clearly, he was at the Apollo, which is a performance venue. Mm-hmm. He was playing to the crowd. Let's listen to what Newt Gingrich and how he responded to that.
I'm not going to compete with Obama in singing because I'm not running for entertainer-in-chief. I'm running for president. And I would say to him now, Mr. President, you cannot sing your way past the disaster of your presidency.
Cheap shot, Roger?
Oh, I expect stuff like that on the campaign trail. I think it's all good fun. And he didn't sing probably because he can't sing. But I thought the president sounded pretty good when he was up there singing. And what's the big deal? When Mitt tried to sing, it was horrible. You know, bless him. I'm glad he was trying to sing the Star-Spangled Banner, but it didn't work out very well when he was doing that.
Normal politics, Bill, is this a little nasty?
Oh, politics is nasty. I think President Obama is doing a fine job in terms of what president's supposed to do with leadership. He ended a war. He got somebody who savaged Americas with the attack in New York. The stock market's the highest it's ever been. I mean, he's doing what he's supposed to do. I just think that Newt Gingrich is a joke, just like I said of the other candidates, and he doesn't have the moral authority to even be in the same room with Barack Obama, President Obama. So that's just where it is. I think it'll be another alternative to the Republicans that are going to run. But right now, all this stuff is just a bunch of noise. I think President Obama, under any way that you look at it, and if he needs to define it more in depth, because he came in where we're losing 700,000 jobs a month. And I don't know what these people are talking about. So I agree. I think he's just moved on. And man can't sing. I want to use that part to somebody I need to talk to. I'll say, listen to this here.
So you can use his version. Go ahead, Will.
I can't even sing, so I won't even go there.
Will?
No, I didn't have a problem with it. I mean, politics is what it is, and Newt wouldn't have a problem if that was Herman Cain beside him, bowing and scraping and singing Amazing Grace and shuffling along. So he wouldn't have a problem with that.
Bill, let me ask you, were you surprised that Santorum had won the last 3 primaries and seems to be gaining so much momentum?
Oh, he's gaining momentum because he doesn't have any competition. I mean, Romney appears to not to have the ability to attract conservatives. And so until he gets that in his way, and he is really a rich person who doesn't understand the problems of poor people and mortgages and their bills and educating their kids and $10,000 for a bed for $1, so no, he just doesn't relate to Americans who are really, really struggling today. So no, I don't have any issues with it. But Santorum won't win. He's got so much in his closet. They start beating him down. He'll be out in a month.
Well, I actually heard a commentator on Fox say that they felt that Santorum was kind of coming out like Obama did when everybody thought Hillary Clinton was going to get the nomination.
I think Santorum is going to find this. What I have read about the campaign and finances. What they're having a hard time with is that Mitt has so much money to run the campaigns, and now Santorum he doesn't have that wealth. It's going to be tough for him. You can do certain things in caucuses that you can't do in primaries. So the people without as much finance, without as much money, can have a better shot in the caucuses. They're going to have a tougher time in primaries.
You're right. That's it.
And and his challenge is going to be, can he even stay in through Super Tuesday? And he's not on the ballot in Virginia. Only Ron Paul and Romney are in. So all this is interesting right now, but I think it would be almost a miracle if anybody but Romney is the Republican nominee.
Okay. Sheila joins us from Portsmouth. Sheila, we got a few minutes left. Hello?
I just wanted to say Hi. I just want to say to Bill that I never thought I would agree with you on one thing, but today we agreed on 2, the tolls and the wonderful job our president is doing in Washington, D.C. Y'all have a great weekend.
Thank you so much,
I get a chance to respond to that. Well, thank you so much, Sheila. And you have a very wonderful Valentine's Day. Man, we maybe have to follow up on this.
Yeah. Are you married, Sheila?
I bet she's not.
Sheila's gone, but I bet she'll call back if she's not. I tell you.
Oh, my goodness.
Will, did you want to chime in on the presidential race or the Republican presidential race?
I think you see with the Republicans, I think you've seen each of the different candidates have had their shine in the spotlight, their 15 minutes of fame. And so it's Santorum's time. And the difference, by comparison to Hillary and now President Obama, when he was Senator Obama, is that Hillary had a background and a record that people were able to dislike. And I think that the same case is going to be for Santorum. Mm-hmm. The stuff about him is going to come out. And Romney's campaign is certainly going to bring it all out.
Okay. We got about 2 minutes left. Who wants to talk about what they're doing for Valentine's Day?
I don't share that with the viewing and the listening public. I mean, Michelle and I will do what we do, and y'all can just, if you tell too much, it's nothing alluring about it. So just leave it like that.
Okay, that's Roger's take. But what about you, Will?
Will.
Will got in trouble at Christmas time when I asked this question. Sure, so speak carefully.
My wife doesn't pay attention when I'm on the air, so I can get away with saying a lot of things.
Just like that Twitter, you better be careful.
But But no, we'll put on a little Al Green, and we'll make something nice, you know.
And are you going to use the president's version, or are you going to use the Reverend Al?
Oh no, Reverend Al, you can't get anything done, you know, using the president's version. It's got to be Al Green.
Okay, and Bill, you got the last word.
I'm Bobby Womack. I'm searching for love. I'm searching here and there. I'm searching everywhere. I'm searching.
You know what? You're going to turn another. I know. I was going to say he's going to turn another view into a dating service here.
You asked me, and President Obama inspired me.
Okay. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. That's Wil LaVeist, author, journalist, and talk show host. Bill Thomas, our conservative and community activist, and Roger Chesley with the Virginian-Pilot. Thank you. We'll see you guys next month.
Thank you, Barbara.
And we'll be right back.
I got a dream. One day. We're going to work it out. One day. We're going to work it out. One day. We're going to work it out. I have a dream. I got a dream. One day. We're gonna work it out. One day. We're gonna work it out. One day. We're gonna work it out. I have a dream. I got a dream. That one day. I'ma look deeper than myself. I gotta find a way.
And that was Will I Am. I like that song. Next week is Valentine's Week, and there's lots of interesting things to do in the community to show your love. On Sunday, February 12th, meet the author of a new love story called Soul Baby, written by Norfolk's own Joe James Jr. The book signing and reading by the author is at 4 p.m. at the venue on 35th Street in Norfolk. For reservations, call 839-7963. Next Saturday, February 18th from 10 until 2, men are invited to show the love of themselves and others by getting a free prostate screening at Queen Street North Baptist Church on North Armistead Avenue in Hampton. Call 827-0488 for more information. The event is sponsored by the Hampton Roads Prostate Health Forum, Queen Street North Baptist Church, EVMS, and Riverside Cancer Care Center. Tidewater Community College, Links Incorporated, Delta Sigma Theta, and AKA sororities and sister friends are hosting a celebration of sisterhood that's also on Saturday, February the 18th from noon until 6 p.m. with various activities at the TCC Virginia Beach campus. And the author of a new book is Marriage for White People. Ralph Richard Banks will be at the Norfolk Sheraton for a panel discussion and book signing. It's also next Saturday, the 18th. Doors open at 4 p.m. and the discussion begins at 5. And finally, the Lambda Omega chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity is holding its Mardi Gras and dance on February 18th at the Chesapeake Conference Center in Chesapeake. The event benefits the scholarship program. The attire is costume or formal. Call 623-6171 for more information. These events and some others are on our website, anotherviewradio.org. And while you're there, why don't you sign up for our eView newsletter? It's a once-a-week reminder of upcoming shows. Next week, we're going to talk about male-female relationships with author Edward Fairley and relationship coach Alvian Lyons. For producer Lisa Godley, audio engineer Perry Smith, Veronica Kinch-Clark on the phones, I'm Barbara Ham Lee. I hope you have a wonderful weekend and join us next Friday at noon for Another View.